Hello and welcome to this great episode of Success Synergy Show. I'm your host Neena Dayal, and I have AJ Wilcox with me, who is the LinkedIn ads expert. He is world renowned, he is just amazing, and he's the host of the LinkedIn ads show. And he also is the founder of b2linkedin.com, which is a great company. And LinkedIn ads is a field which is relatively less known. That is why we've named the show as Hidden Secrets of LinkedIn Ads. I would request AJ to just take the floor and explain a little bit about b2linked.com. It is an amazing company. I can tell a lot of things which are there listed on the LinkedIn profile of AJ Wilcox, but I would love to hear from him. So, welcome to the show, AJ. It's my great privilege to have you here.
Well, Nina, thank you. It's an absolute privilege to be on your show. I'm excited. Um,
Thank
a,
you.
a little bit about our company. I started it 6 years ago. Actually, just over 6 years. We turned 6 years old last week,
All right, great.
and I came from where I was running LinkedIn's largest spending account worldwide to saying there has to be more companies in the world that LinkedIn ads would be a good fit for than just this one that I'm working for. And so I started an ad agency that specializes just only in LinkedIn ads. We've
Fantastic.
we've spent over $130 million on LinkedIn ads at this point. I'm not aware of anyone else who's spent more. Managed over 400 accounts. Consulted for like 5 of LinkedIn's top 10 spending accounts. So I'm excited about LinkedIn ads, and saying that is an understatement.
Fantastic, fantastic. And congratulations on your sixth anniversary. So, this is an
Thanks.
anniversary show. We'll treat it as an anniversary show. Thank you so much for being here. It's just phenomenal to have you here. AJ, the first question that comes to my mind is about LinkedIn ads themselves. I mean, LinkedIn is a great platform. In fact, that is the one platform on which I have been consistently active when it comes to social media. The rest of the other platforms, they can get really confusing at times. But LinkedIn has maintained its clarity, its efficacy, its target reach, and it's just you just aim for something and you can actually get it on LinkedIn. That's how it has been growing from strength to strength. But LinkedIn ads, I have not seen anyone talk about LinkedIn ads before. So please guide us. How are LinkedIn ads different from ads on Facebook and other social media platforms?
Yeah, they're really similar to ads on Facebook, with a few key differences. The
Okay,
biggest differences are that Facebook is a lot cheaper than LinkedIn. So,
okay,
on average, we pay about 3 to 5 times more for a click on LinkedIn than we do on Facebook. So, it's much more expensive. But the important part, this is why we're willing to pay LinkedIn's prices. The targeting is so good for business professionals. We can target by job title and seniority and company size and even by company name specifically, and all of these things at near perfect scale because so much of the white collar workforce is on LinkedIn. So it gives you amazing scalable access to very targeted professionals, and it works extremely well for, especially if you have a large, if they're high ticket items, a large annual contract value. That's really where LinkedIn shines.
fantastic, great. See, the ad spend is very important. We need to get everybody wants to squeeze out the greatest ROI from the ad spend. So, if that works, I think spending more initially should not be a problem, and it isn't. So, just tell us how. I mean, creating a LinkedIn ad and placing it is rather simple. But what are the major mistake areas that people really encounter when they start placing a LinkedIn ad? Because when the ad spend is very high, one needs to be very precise about the whole process.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistakes that people make are just when you're creating your campaign on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is making suggestions for you. And if you take their suggestions, you're probably going to pay too much,
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay.
So,
Or
one of the first things you'll come to is LinkedIn will check a box for you that's called enable audience expansion. And what that is you telling LinkedIn, sure, in North America, I'm paying $8 to $11 per click for an audience member, but I'm okay with you sticking whoever you want into my audience. It's poison
Okay.
for a campaign, and it's auto
Okay.
selected. So
Okay. Okay.
I'm not a fan of that. The other one is when you get down to the bidding and budgeting section. This is essentially the economics behind your campaign. The option that they will automatically select for you is called auto bidding or automated bidding, and it's the most expensive way to pay for your traffic 90% of the time. So I would
Okay.
recommend choose manual bidding and set it to CPC, or you're telling LinkedIn this is the most I'm willing to pay for a click. And what you'll find if you set that low, at the end of the day, if you haven't spent your budget, or let's say the end of the week, you're not spending how much you want, you can go in and increase your bid manually and get there. But if you turn on automated, you'll just pay too much and LinkedIn will spend all of your budget as fast as it can.
But that's the whole phenomenon of advertising as it goes. If you just go for a broader audience and broader reach, you end up spending more. I mean, I say I come from an advertising background. How is this different from traditional advertising? Or what
Well,
you're telling me, the manual selections and all those things?
yeah, it's really similar to the way that I actually used to run ads on Google. Um, Google Ads has evolved significantly as a platform, so the same strategies aren't in effect. But LinkedIn is very much behind Facebook and Google. So think how you would have ran Google Ads 10 years ago. That works really well on LinkedIn. You can set very specific guidelines where you're only willing to pay so much per click, so you keep your costs low. You can set a daily budget where you say, hey, LinkedIn, don't spend more than $15 per day on this campaign. And sometimes it will exceed it, but on average, it will keep to that budget. And then you can turn it on or turn it off anytime you want, which is really great compared to something like traditional advertising. If you
Yeah,
bought
exactly.
something in a magazine, like if you didn't
Yes.
like it, sorry, the magazine's already out in people's hands.
Yes, you can't do anything about it. It's just that you have to put the budget out first. So, see, in that context, how is LinkedIn ads? How are LinkedIn ads different from Facebook as such? Facebook advertising. I mean, you said it's more or less similar, but there has to be some major difference apart from just the reach to the target audience or the exact pointing of the campaign. Uh,
Yeah.
Platform wise, I mean, platform wise, as such, the configuration of the both the platforms is very different. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I see people putting out Facebook ads pretty often, but I don't see people putting out LinkedIn ads that often. So, what I'm trying to get over here is why is this so? What exactly is stopping people from placing more targeted, more enriched, more value added ads on that is like available on LinkedIn? So, why why people choose Facebook over LinkedIn
Well,
as just a matter of general is I'm making a very general kind of comment over here.
yeah, and I think it's very accurate. Google and Facebook both did something very, very interesting when they launched their platforms. They set their prices very low and then let competition, just normal advertiser competition, drive costs up. So it used to be that you could get multiple clicks from Facebook for a cent, and their targeting was very good around consumers. You can target by interests, and they had all of these other third-party data sources that you could really pinpoint who you wanted to. But the weakness has always been in the business targeting, because the types of people who do really well on LinkedIn are saying we only sell software to, let's say, the VPs and above at companies of more than 1,000 people, and Facebook, sure, it's going to be a lot less expensive to reach them, at least on a per click basis. But your targeting is just so broad that when you spray it out, you'll get, maybe one or two from your target audience will see it, but then you'll also get 30 or 40 from other audiences that aren't a good fit. But because the costs are so much lower, I feel like there's less risk in trying it out. So people go, I know Facebook's not the right platform for me. I know the targeting's not perfect, but because I can get so much more traffic and I can do so much more testing for the same price, I'd rather start there, see if I can make that work, and then maybe test into LinkedIn when I'm really sure of my offer and conversion rates. I think that's probably the big reason why it was
All
just
right.
less risky.
So it's more of a kind of an emotional or psychological reason that rather than any uh, any concrete reasons as such. I mean, if you're looking for a targeted market, might as well go to a place which really gives you that targeted market, and
Yeah.
automatically the ROI will be far better than what you can find elsewhere. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, that makes perfect logical sense to me. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just thinking out loud over here. So tell me, while creating the ads, you said that there are certain factors which need to be taken care of, which are there for every platform for that matter. Uh, uh, is there any particular way in which the ads need to be created? Maybe the video component or the audio component, or some kind of visual quality to the ad itself that will perhaps make
Yeah.
it more interesting on LinkedIn.
Yeah, the main ad format that everyone starts with is called sponsored content, and it's the one that appears right in your news feed. It's a great place to start, and there's a whole bunch of variations. You can do a video version, you can do a static image version, you can do a carousel, and for those of you who are familiar with Facebook, you can do lead ads, the equivalent on LinkedIn. So lots of different ways of doing this. But my recommendation is to always start with the single image, the static image sponsored content, because it's the least risky. You know, if it doesn't perform well, the only things that you can change are the image and a little bit of text above and below, and that's it. There's not very much to tweak and test. Versus if your video ad doesn't perform well, you don't know if it's because the video wasn't good or it didn't capture attention fast enough or people didn't watch to the end to see your call to action. So it leaves a lot more up to guesswork. So I would say start with just your static image, follow the same rules as Facebook with that image, where LinkedIn is very blues, grays, and whites. So you want your colors to contrast. If you look on a color wheel, the opposite of blue is orange. So try to
Yes.
use oranges, purples, reds, greens. Those are all good colors. And then, most importantly, with a LinkedIn ad, you have to get right to the value. You have to get right to the point. Because
Yes.
when someone's on Facebook, they're there usually to be entertained. But on
Entertainment. Yes.
LinkedIn, they're in a hurry. They're on their way to go do something. And so you've got to tell them immediately, here's the pain point that we're solving. Here's the value you're going to get by clicking on this ad. And if you follow those, you'll generally get ads that get clicked on 2 or 3 times the average.
Okay, great. That's actually again, it makes perfect logical sense to me because if you're targeting something, might as well target it uh, closer to the range, so rather than just shooting blindly. And I mean, a to the point approach definitely works far better. I mean, for a person like me, it definitely makes far better sense. So that's just coming from my end. But tell me, I mean, I have seen a lot of LinkedIn ads, a lot of people using them, but which keep appearing on my mainly on my newsfeed. But so far, whatever you are saying regarding the attention grabbing component, I'm yet to find a campaign which really catches my attention. Sorry to make this remark, but why is this so? When people are making something, investing in something which is expensive, which is really pointed, why that attention grabbing aspect is kind of neglected? I find much more catchier ads on Facebook.
Yeah.
See, why is this so?
I think the biggest reason is just ignorance. I think most people, when they try out LinkedIn ads, they don't go and look for courses or resources to show them how to do it better. They just say, I'm going to give it a try and see how well it works. Um, there are so many resources out there if you're a Facebook advertiser, so many for Google, and just lots of good information out there. But when you go and search for LinkedIn ads information, there just isn't much. You might find a blog post here or there, but you always wonder, like, I've only heard this from one person. Is that just this person's experience, or is that really how it works? So I think that's probably what it is. All of these advertisers are doing poor ads, and they're going to fail probably until they go and research and find out, and maybe watch this show teaching them this is how you get people's attention, and then I think ads will start getting better.
Okay. Tell me how you go about doing these ad campaigns at your company, b2link.com. It's something which has really attracted me. I saw you on one of the podcasts, and then I reached out to you. I told you, I mean, I had the audacity to actually reaching out to you to find out more about the hidden secrets of LinkedIn ads, because it seems to be like a kind of a clandestine area. Not many, like you said, not many people know anything about LinkedIn ads as such. So, how do you go about uh, handling the campaigns at your company? Just some broad overview will help our audience quite a lot.
Yeah, basic strategic approach to LinkedIn. We have excuse me, we have an acronym that we call AMO, AMO, and it's the three things that you need for a social ads campaign. And these are especially important on LinkedIn, but the same thing applies on Quora and Twitter and Facebook and all other social platforms. A is your audience. You need to know who it is that you're targeting. M is the message. This is the ad format you choose and the ad copy and the imagery. It's what the user sees. But by far the most important is the O, and it's your offer. What is it that, think of it, your call to action or your lead magnet. Because we're paying LinkedIn so much for this traffic, and the extremes of our calls to action don't work very well. If you are trying to send all of this traffic to a blog post, well, blog posts don't convert very high, and you're probably still going to pay LinkedIn. In North America, we're paying $8 to $11 a click on average, but outside, you'll probably pay considerably less. But you're paying a lot of money to get a blog post visitor who is going to convert at a very low rate. And so your cost per conversion is going to be really high. And if you go to the opposite end of the spectrum where you say, okay, I'm just going to ask immediately to talk to our sales rep or to do a trial or take a demo, buy something. Those are things that, because people are in a hurry on LinkedIn, they're not showing any value. They're just going to look past it, and you'll end up just not getting any traffic. So
Yes,
really, you want to
I get,
take that
I get you, I
content
get your
first.
point. So
Yeah.
it's like something between the two ends of the spectrum. You can't be too indirect, and you can't be too direct. You have
Yes.
to strike a balance somewhere in between,
Yeah.
which which adds value to the audience more than anything else.
Yes.
That's really interesting. That's a
Yeah.
very important point.
And then, of
Although
course,
this,
and this is
please continue.
gated content, so you're going to get someone filling out a form when they want your free guide or your free checklist or join your free webinar. And so as a marketer, you get to see the impressions, the clicks, the conversions. And so you know which audiences are working, which ones aren't. And so you can start to optimize your efforts because you can see the conversions, and you have people for your sales team to start following up with. So that really is the best approach with LinkedIn normally.
Right, right. It makes perfect sense. I understand it at least. See, the other question is, are there any particular kind of products or services which will make better sense to be advertised on LinkedIn rather than on other places?
Yeah, these rules really apply to North America, where click cost and competition is the highest. But basically, anywhere else you go in the world or into languages outside of English, you'll see costs come down and these numbers will come down. But we find that in North America, if you have a product or a service where your lifetime value is over $15,000, then it's a total no-brainer to advertise on LinkedIn, because you'll probably end up paying between $1,000 to $4,000 in ad spend before you close a deal. And then if you spend $4,000 to make $15,000, obviously that's enough room for a return on your investment. But for instance, we ran a campaign in India targeting software developers, and we got costs per click down into the like 20, 30 US cents,
Okay.
which was fantastic. And then huge conversion rates. So I would say if you have a high lifetime value, then great. LinkedIn is perfect for you. If you're targeting anyone for careers like white collar recruiting, that works very well. And then also higher education works very well too, like MBA programs trying to recruit students because the educational targeting is quite good as well.
Okay. So, what about this freelance e-learning market, which is booming quite a lot? Everybody is coming out with their online courses. In fact, I'm coming up with them now. So, like we were discussing before the show for a brief moment in time. Tell me, what about online courses? Do they sell well on LinkedIn as such?
I would say,
Because
yeah.
LinkedIn Learning is, as it is, a very, very fantastic place to I mean, but it's a closed community. You don't get a chance to create a course for LinkedIn Learning. It's a very
Yeah.
prestigious environment. It works very differently. So, tell me about online courses. Do they work well on LinkedIn as such?
Yeah, online courses are really difficult to make work on LinkedIn, simply because we know that we can't ask for a purchase or something high friction right up front from this cold audience. So if we sold a course, if it was for $1 or $10,000, probably no one would purchase on the first time they saw the ad. So that's not great. The best approach would be if you offered like a free course or a free segment of a course, like a teaser, and then at the end of that, then you upsold people to, okay, you've seen the value here. Now, if you purchase the full course, this is what else you'll get. I think that's probably the best option. But again, you have to make sure that your purchase price is high enough that with LinkedIn's high costs, you can still make a return on your investment.
Okay, okay. So, I mean, upfront, you won't say unless it is a very high value product, which you are sure that audience will purchase. It doesn't really make much sense to go in for that kind of ad spend. So,
Yeah.
uh, what other kind of products, I mean, apart from software and apart from educational programs, any other specific niche of products which is doing really well on LinkedIn ads, as such, which you feel
Hmm.
our audience
Uh,
can
we've
benefit
had
from?
we've had some good luck with coaching. So you bring someone in with a free informational kind of offer, and then their funnel maybe consists of three touch points. So the free, the slight upgrade, more like in the US we might say like $199 buy-in, and then once you've taken that and you're ready for the next step, then there's a $15,000 coaching package or something. That's working quite well. SaaS software, as you know, is always going to work really well. It's just very predictable. Um, Recruiting, almost of any kind, if you're looking for a new employee, you can target
Right.
people who already have that experience and are already in your area. So that can work quite well. Um, Pretty much anything that has a high lifetime value, though, is probably going to work quite well.
Okay. All right. So, see, you have a lot of accounts. You are handling, I mean, more than 500 accounts. You said your
Yeah,
company is
we've managed over 400. I think if you add in
400.
consulting, we've been over 500. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, what are the, I mean, industry areas in which all of these accounts of yours they fall? I think because for 6 years you have done phenomenal growth for your company, and it's been like you are totally into it. So, what kind of people approach you at your company for LinkedIn ads?
Yeah, I would say probably 90% of everything that we get is business to business products or services, which is obviously it makes a lot of sense. If you have a specific user in mind who can buy your product or service, LinkedIn has the best targeting for it. So
Yes,
that's
yes.
where most of the leads are coming from. I would say maybe 5 or 6% come from recruiting, because that's obviously where LinkedIn started. It was a resume site to begin with.
Right.
And then the last little bit, sometimes we have some B2C offers that could potentially work. There's uh, government, like business to government types of contracts.
Okay.
We've seen some people try with direct to consumer, but I haven't found that to be ultra successful yet. But yeah, I'd say the majority are probably B2B.
Okay, okay, okay. That makes really perfect sense because LinkedIn has such. I mean, the best targeting that you can get on LinkedIn is B2B, definitely. So if you're looking for really B2C customers, I mean, Facebook is the place to go to.
Oh yeah.
Uh, as compared to Twitter, because a lot of traffic, even I'm getting very active on Twitter these days. When it comes to Twitter, it's a different kind of platform altogether. You don't need to spend that kind of time on it, and it's like something which is a mix between instant messaging and a social media platform. So, how do you see Twitter and LinkedIn uh, working sideways together, side by side, uh, when it comes to advertising?
Yeah.
How do you see
So
both these?
so I'll share. I love Twitter as a consumer. I'm like you. I love being active there. You can get access to people that you just couldn't get anywhere else. There just aren't walls or boundaries that keep you from establishing relationships. So that I really love. Their advertising platform though is really difficult to make work, especially with business to business. The targeting is kind of a mix between some parts of who someone is, like the demographic data, but then also some with what are they tweeting, what hashtags they're using, what topics do they show interest in, and so it's kind of a hodgepodge of like you have to know who it is that you want to go after before you go to Twitter and try to find them. Otherwise, you're just going to be rummaging through targeting options, going, "I wonder who I could target with this."
Right.
Twitter users are also in a hurry, and they're not super open to ads. So it works very well with media, very top of funnel kinds of awareness, because people are there to be entertained, and those are the ads that I see working very well. But very rarely do I see business to business offers working well on Twitter, unfortunately.
Okay. And regarding ad spend wise, how do you place Twitter ads as compared with LinkedIn ads?
Twitter ads, at least last time I really was using them, they were about 20% more expensive than Facebook. So I would say, and Facebook has gotten a lot more competitive. So let's say they're even similar. You might have a cost per click on Twitter and Facebook being about the same. And then LinkedIn will probably be 3 to 5 times higher than that. So if you can make some of the targeting options on Twitter work for you, then yeah, your cost is going to be really good. One option for this is if, let's say, you're trying to target human resources managers or decision makers, you could go and look up the hashtags for the major human resources conferences. And if someone tweeted using that hashtag, chances are they're in HR. And so you could show them ads based off of that at a big discount from where you'd get it if you targeted the same people with LinkedIn. So there are some opportunities for sure.
Right, right. That also is a great piece of insight here because just going in the usual manner with the social media platform ads probably does not make that kind of sense to me. So I'm coming from that angle that if you know the real, I mean, how to add the real meatiness to your ad. So hashtag thing that you said is would be a better approach for reaching out to the
Yeah. The other one that we
possibly reaching.
find, yeah, the other one that we found to work quite well on Twitter is you can target the followers of, let's say, an industry evangelist. So if you wanted to reach marketers, you might target the followers of Rand Fishkin, who has every search engine optimization professional in the world following him, Brad Geddes for Google ads, John Loomer for Facebook ads. So you could do that kind of targeting as well. But just be aware that when you target that way on Twitter, it doesn't just show to their followers. It also shows to lookalikes of their followers. So it's not quite as precise, but it can be really good if you know that there are some people or companies that people of a certain industry will follow just because they are the head of it.
Yeah, I get your point. It's very important actually. I mean, it's kind of inbuilt in the algorithm of the platform itself. So see, as far as LinkedIn ads are concerned, what are the other ways in which one can create very precisely targeted LinkedIn ads? What are the other uh, you know targeting secrets? I'm not asking you to tell all the secrets over here, but just let us in on some portion
Well,
of maybe suppose a first time person attempts to make a LinkedIn ad. So
well, don't worry, I don't have any secrets. Everything I learn, I share, and I'm an open book.
thank you
Um,
so much.
for any kind of audience that we go to target, we know that there are usually 3 or 4 ways of targeting them using LinkedIn's targeting. So, for instance, if you're trying to go after the head of IT, um, we can target job titles like Chief Information and Chief Technology Officer, um, VP of IT, those types of titles. We can also target by job function, which is their department they sit in. So we could target the IT job function with a seniority of VP or C level. We could target skills like deep IT skills and put on a C level filter for seniority as well.
Right.
We can also target groups. So right there, there's 4 different ways of targeting the same type of persona. And what we'll do, especially if we have the budget for it, we will target using 4 separate campaigns, all targeting seemingly the same kind of person. And that's going to allow us over time to find efficiencies that we couldn't have found
Right.
otherwise. We
Right.
might find that, wow, job function is really cheap to reach them, or the lead quality that we get from targeting IT groups is really high. So that's what I love on targeting the role. And then we also have targeting the company. So we can target by the company size, which is really good if you've got, let's say, a high price kind of item. Target companies who are large enough to have big enough budgets to afford it. You can target by industry, or if you want a really simple approach, you can do, let's say, on very small budget, you can do account based marketing where you just upload a list of here are the companies I care about and only show ads to people at these companies. And of course, that's probably not going to spend very much because it's a very small list. So we like to combine the two, target the right role at the right kind of company. And when you put those together, you might end up with
Then, yes,
five,
then
10 campaigns, but it's
ah,
great for targeting.
that's where the real explosion may happen, quite possibly. Because see, not everything can be 100% accurate, but then with this kind of a mixing and matching, a lot of accuracy is possibly on the cards. It's easier to attain more efficiency. Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. And anything else that you would like to tell us about maybe a first timer who's going in for LinkedIn advertising?
Yeah.
Uh,
I,
okay, fine. Go ahead. Sorry, I was just stopping.
no worries. I have so many thoughts here. My recommendation is don't go to LinkedIn ads unless you are able to track conversions and leads past just that initial form fill. And the reason why is with LinkedIn's targeting, we pay so much for it, but the targeting makes it so every single click, every single conversion comes from someone who is highly qualified to do business with you. So if you are just comparing your Facebook cost per lead versus LinkedIn, you're going to say, wow, my cost per lead is 4 times higher on LinkedIn. And you'll get the wrong idea. You'll say, too expensive, I'm going to quit. But if you're watching past that, if you watch to maybe how they turn into a marketing qualified lead or a sales accepted lead or a sales qualified lead, a proposal, a closed deal, you'll find that because LinkedIn's targeting is so good, they will graduate at a much higher rate. And if you are able to track down that way, usually with a CRM or a marketing automation system, if you track it like that, that's when you'll see the value of LinkedIn's more expensive clicks.
Right, right. And of course, everybody is looking for qualified leads. There's no point in just shooting arrows in the dark and not reaching your target. I mean, that's the first thing. That's the first commonsensical thing I feel. Whenever if you're trying to place any ads, if you have an advertising budget. So that makes perfect sense, absolutely.
Yeah.
I am forgetting what I was just jumping ahead. Yes, now I remember. It's see, I see a lot of people sending me personalized messages, which are basically a sales pitch.
Yeah.
Is this through LinkedIn ads, or is it a direct pitching environment that people have sort of kind of created inside of LinkedIn on their own?
Yeah, it's most likely organic outreach. So people are
Okay.
using the LinkedIn platform for free to reach out and send connection requests because they know that as soon as you accept the connection request, they can message you unlimited for free. Um, there is one ad format on LinkedIn that they call sponsored messaging, and this is where you can send a message to someone that you're not connected with, and it costs in North America it's like 20 to 35 cents to send it to someone, significantly cheaper elsewhere. But each member can only receive one of these every 30 days. So chances are what you're seeing is what I essentially call LinkedIn's mass spam problem. Um, People who are saying, well, LinkedIn ads are expensive. I'm just going to use my time or I'm going to hire an agency to pretend to be me and send out a bunch of sales pitches and turn it into a numbers game. And I'm very much not a fan of that. I think there's a
Not at
lot
all.
of people
I
who
don't.
are being turned off.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a great put off. So I was just kind of thinking whether LinkedIn allows you to do this, or people are just doing it at random on their own. So as you say, it's like organic reach, but it doesn't make any sense to me because it doesn't work. Simple as that. If you're
Yeah.
reaching out to somebody, might as well try to grow it into a relationship, which may lead to some kind of a business fructification at a later
Yes.
stage. That's the whole process of advertising summated in one single sentence.
Yeah. And
Otherwise, why would anyone?
LinkedIn stance on this is very split. It's like they sell Sales Navigator, so they make money when people pay $80 per month so that they can send 75 connection requests per day. So they're making money from people doing this, but they also know that it's a poor user experience. And so they're watching for people using automated tools and they're shutting their accounts down. Um, I, I think at some point we're going to see LinkedIn really crack down on this. Like people who are sending a ton of messages that are being reported as I don't know or this is spam. I think they'll probably be quicker to take them offline. But
Okay.
as for right now, they're making a lot of money from Sales Navigator accounts, so they're being really slow to respond.
Sales Navigator, I've heard a lot about Sales Navigator as a feature. I haven't used it myself. Uh, Tell me, LinkedIn ads versus Sales Navigator. What are the major differences, and how do you think one would catch up with the other, or one would probably be better than the other?
Yeah, Sales Navigator is you get pretty much the same targeting that you could get from ads, but instead you are doing a search manually and reaching out to someone one on one. Versus on the ad side, uh, it doesn't take any more humans' time. We create the ads, we turn them on, and then we watch the metrics and the traffic come through. So it's one is very scalable, one is very one-on-one, very time intensive, but both can be used for the same purpose. But the maximum amount that you can use on LinkedIn, even if you have Sales Navigator, they will only let you send 75 connection requests per day. And so if you send more than that or view more profiles, you'll see your account get shut off for like a 24-hour period as a slap on the hand. And then if you keep breaking the rules, they'll just delete your account, plain and simple.
Okay, okay, okay. So, see, we are almost at the top of the hour now. So, just tell me some very important point that you would like to close this show with, something to really keep it in mind while looking at LinkedIn ads and really establishing a good reputation on LinkedIn. I think reputation matters quite a lot on LinkedIn. It's not just about throwing the ads and trying to gain for some kind of a uh, business connection or I mean, business relationship on LinkedIn. It doesn't work that way. I mean, at least, I mean, I've just had 5,500 followers up until now because I haven't been very active, but a lot of valuable work I have done, a lot of leads I have generated, a lot of I mean, when I measure it as against the business value generated from LinkedIn, it's been really phenomenal. So the number of connections really hasn't really mattered much to me. But a lot of people use these features to kind of gain more connections, and ads, of course, is a bigger game. Definitely, but LinkedIn Navigator is being used for the other purpose of reaching out to more people. Now, saving your reputation, creating ads, getting gains, establishing good business revenues. How do you, you know, kind of thread all of this together? If you can
Yeah.
just summate it, that would be just wonderful.
Sure. So the acronym that I used earlier, AMO, your audience, message, and offer, I would say just to start out, target your most core audience, the people who you solve their pain point the most. Give them the very best message describing the highest converting or most interesting offer or lead magnet that you have. And then you're setting yourself up for success. Uh, Try advertising on that and make sure that you go in with a large enough budget, because you don't want to spend $200 or $300 and then say, oh, I guess it works or I guess it doesn't work, because it's too small to actually see conversions. You probably want to generate 20, 30, 50 conversions to know for sure, like, yes, this is working. So in North America, I tell people, make sure you set aside a budget of at least $5,000 to run your pilot. And if it works great, wonderful. You can keep scaling up. Or if it doesn't work, you can get out and
Right.
stop spending money. So just make sure you put enough funds toward it right at the beginning that you can tell whether it's even worth your time.
Right. Fantastic. That's a phenomenal piece of advice to anybody who may be thinking in terms of having to run LinkedIn ads. Thank you, AJ. It's been phenomenal talking to you. And see, right now I am also quite new to LinkedIn ads, so maybe I haven't asked you all the great questions on this show. But with the promise that we will be calling you back in another 2 to 3 months' time when we are better set off with everything. And with that, I would thank you so much for accepting my request to be here. It's it's been. I remember the reply that you sent to my initial message when I said I'm having the audacity to reach out to you. That I'm loving the audacity. It was really something that connected us both very well. Thank you
Well,
very
Nina,
much.
thank you so much for the invite on your show. I mean, anytime someone says I want to share what you share with my audience, it's I'm hugely flattered. So thank you, and then to everyone who's watching and listening, thank you as well. I wish you the very best of luck on LinkedIn ads.
We don't have very many watchers as such because I'm not advertising these shows as of now, much, not marketing them as such, but building a lot of good content. Some people do join in because it's on the social media, it's going live everywhere. And so we have a comment here from one Mr. Shishir Jindal. This is great going, Nina. G is a word that we add to kind of add respect to somebody's name, and
Cool.
that's how. And this is, and my good wishes to you and your esteemed guest. Thank you, Shishiji. It is
Mhm.
wonderful having you here. So he's been watching that. I know him. He's a person with great business activities here in this city. So I know him very well.
Oh,
Thank you so much,
wonderful.
AJ. It's great to know that some people are watching, but we will, once we start marketing this content, I'm sure we'll be able to reach out to a larger audience. And with the promise that we'll be bringing AJ Wilcox back with us very soon, do connect with him on LinkedIn, especially, definitely, and also on Twitter and other social media platforms. And thank you so much, AJ. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Nina. Have a great one.
You too have a good time.